How's it going, guys? Today's video is going to be a lot different than what I usually post on the channel, and I really hope you guys enjoyed this style of video. Some may find it silly to customize one's controller, but I find it to be a very fun and unique way of expressing yourself outside of the game itself. There are websites that offer custom-made Gamecube controllers already pre-made, and that's great, but why pay all of that money when you can simply purchase the buttons and the screwdriver for $13 US? First, let's talk about these buttons. Some of you may be familiar with these third-party button sets already, but if not, let me explain. These buttons are not endorsed or created by Nintendo whatsoever. They're not official hardware. They're created by third-party companies, often in China. As someone who is obnoxiously meticulous about the way my controller feels as I play, some of these buttons are on the cusp of being an exact multicolored duplicate of official hardware and cannot be distinguished by the naked eye or hand. Specifically, the left analog stick, A, B, Y, and X buttons are apparently slightly flatter than the official ones. The placebo of this feeling different wore off for me after playing once. However, the left analog stick is incredibly grippy. Some may prefer this feeling, others may not like it. I personally stopped noticing the grip fairly fast and only noticed it when switching back to a friend's controller. The L&R buttons fit fine and feel fine on the outside, however, when pressing down almost feel dry. It's honestly not that bad, and after using this button set for a while, I stopped noticing it. Anyway, this as well as all the other aforementioned differences do not impact gameplay whatsoever. All of the buttons function equal to the quality of stock buttons. Your tech skill, inputs, and overall ability will be entirely unchanged. However, two pieces of hardware that will impact your gameplay if not adjusted correctly are the left analog stick's height as well as the Z button's size. These can be a bit of a pain. The analog stick's issue is that the socket for it to fit is not the correct depth compared to that of stock buttons. Thus, it goes into the controller too far, which caused the analog stick thumb cap to rub against the controller. This can be circumvented by inserting a small piece of aluminum foil into the slot of the analog stick. If you put the correct amount, the stick will sit perfectly and will have absolutely no negative impact on your gameplay. The correct amount is purely trial and error. This took me about 5 minutes to decide on an adequate amount. If you put too much or too little, any small object can be used to pry the aluminum foil out of the socket. The Z button requires so much effort to fit it into the controller, it's almost not worth it if I'm being completely honest with all of you. If your adjustments to the Z button are not well done, you can have an incredibly stiff button or even one that gets stuck. There are a couple videos explaining how to adjust the Z button to fit, so I won't get into it too much. The trick is to cut the back peg of the third-party Z button entirely off, then sand the side of it down so it fits in. After doing this to two different buttons, it definitely doesn't feel like the stock Z button. However, I did a pretty good job adjusting it, and I personally think it's close enough for my tastes. These problems have caused pretty poor reviews on Amazon. Many people assume these buttons would be perfect colored replicas of Nintendo's hardware. That's a reasonable assumption, but most of Nintendo's hardware is proprietary and cannot even legally be replicated perfectly anyway, so you have to take these buttons with a grain of salt. All of these issues can very well be avoided by using the official left stick and Z button while using third-party buttons. There's nothing wrong with that at all, and can even be part of a theme you may want to create. I personally went the extra mile to make sure my theme was entirely complete. It would bother me if my controller had one button that wasn't the same color as the rest. I know I made this sound like a bit of a nightmare, but trust me when I say the results are worth it. It's super satisfying to have something pretty to look at when you go 0-2 and can't make it out of pools and all your friends are laughing at you. No, but seriously, the buttons feel great and look even better. I highly recommend them.